Namaste, my dear friends. Today, I want to talk about something very close to the hearts of many of us, our relationship with our children after we cross the age of 60. You see, life after 60 is a beautiful chapter. It is a time when you have earned your wisdom, experienced joys and sorrows, and hopefully discovered the art of patience. But sometimes there comes a moment when our children, our very own, ignore us, or worse, do not show the respect we once hoped for, and that hurts deeply. Let me start with a story. There was a gentleman, I'll call him Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma was 68 years old, a retired school teacher, and always the pillar of his family. Yet his children were busy with their careers, their phones, their lives. They often forgot to call him, sometimes even dismissing his messages. Naturally, he felt ignored, unappreciated, and hurt. Many would react with anger or frustration, but Mr. Sharma did something very different. He remembered a lesson he had read long ago. You cannot control others' behavior, but you can control your response. Instead of confronting his children with anger, he started focusing on his own life, his hobbies, his morning walks, his friends, and even volunteering. He began spending more time in the local library reading books he always wanted to. Slowly, he became calmer, happier, and more self-assured. And do you know what happened? His children began noticing. They started calling more often, visiting more willingly, and treating him with the respect they had unintentionally forgotten. The shift didn't come from force. It came from calm, graceful action. You see, friends, after 60, it is very easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from others, especially from our children. But true peace comes when you stop depending on someone else for your happiness. Stay calm, detach from resentment, invest your energy in things that enrich your life rather than trying to change the people around you. Here's what you can do. First, accept reality, not your children, but the reality of the situation. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means acknowledging what is and then responding wisely. Second, shift your focus. Take up activities that make your heart sing. Gardening, painting, yoga, spiritual study, or spending time with friends. Third, lead by example. Children notice, even if they don't say it. Your calmness, grace, and self-respect will plant seeds in their hearts. Let me tell you about another story. Mrs. Mehta, a 72-year-old widow. Her children were often too busy to care for her needs, and she felt lonely. But instead of complaining, she joined a senior citizens group, started mentoring young students in her neighborhood, and began writing her memoirs. She became so radiant, full of life, that her children could not help but reconnect with her, not out of guilt, but out of love. Friends, the key is simple yet profound: calmness, self-respect, and purposeful living. When we stop reacting in anger and start living with dignity, we teach an unspoken lesson to our children. They may not respond immediately, but seeds of respect, love, and understanding are sown. Remember, after 60, life is too precious to waste on bitterness. Instead of asking, "Why don't my children respect me?" ask yourself, "How can I live fully, joyfully, and gracefully today?" When you do that, respect will follow naturally. So, if you ever feel ignored, if you feel unappreciated, don't react with anger or sadness. Breathe, smile, and do something beautiful for yourself. Your life is your responsibility. Your joy is your choice, and your peace is your power. Thank you, and may you live these golden years with calm, dignity, and unshakable joy. These 3 points are most important. 1. Accept reality. Don't chase respect after the age of 60. One of the greatest lessons we can learn is acceptance. Life has its own rhythm and relationships evolve over time. Often we expect our children to continue showing us the same attention and respect that they did when they were young. But the reality is different. Our children are now navigating careers, marriages, responsibilities, and their own pressures. Sometimes, in the whirlwind of their lives, they may overlook a phone call, a message, or even a gentle word of advice. This can sting, and many of us feel hurt, frustrated, or even rejected. Take the story of Mr. Kumar, a retired engineer who had spent decades providing for his family. As he crossed 65, he noticed his children rarely called or visited. Initially, he tried to remind them, complain, and even scold when they ignored him, but it only created tension. Eventually, he paused and reflected. He realized that he had no control over his children's actions. He could only control his reactions. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means acknowledging reality for what it is without adding extra suffering through resentment or expectations. Think of acceptance as the calm water in a storm. While the winds may rage around you, the water inside remains steady. By accepting the reality that children may not always act as we hope, we free ourselves from constant disappointment. It's also important to understand that respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned through consistent behavior, calmness, and dignity. When you stop chasing validation, you stop feeling the emptiness of neglect. Instead, you cultivate an internal sense of self-worth that no external behavior can shake. This quiet strength becomes magnetic. Children often recognize it subconsciously, and respect begins to follow naturally. Real life examples reinforce this principle. Many elderly parents who live in denial or bitterness find themselves frustrated and unhappy. Conversely, those who accept their children's imperfections and focus on their own well being often experience joy and even renewed family bonds. Acceptance is not surrender, it is the first step toward liberation from the emotional roller coaster of unmet expectations. In essence, accepting reality teaches us patience, humility, and inner strength. It allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. After 60, life is too precious to be wasted on resentment. By accepting reality and letting go of the need to control others, we cultivate a serene heart, a heart that becomes the foundation for joy, peace, and meaningful connections, regardless of external behavior. To shift focus to purposeful living, once we accept reality, the next step is to shift our focus to living purposefully. Life after 60 is not a time to sit idle or lament what is missing. It is an opportunity to rediscover ourselves, pursue passions, and contribute meaningfully to the world. A purposeful life brings joy, energy, and vitality, and often this magnetically restores respect and attention from children. Let me share the story of Mrs. Afister, Meta, a widow in her early 70s. She felt neglected by her children, who were consumed by their own lives. Instead of dwelling on sadness, she decided to focus on what made her heart happy. She joined a senior citizens club, volunteered at a local library, and started painting. These activities not only filled her days with joy, but also brought her into the company of vibrant, Laya, kinded people. Her children, observing her radiant happiness, felt drawn back into her life, not out of obligation, but out of aspiration, but out of admiration and love. Purposeful living can take many forms. Some may choose creative pursuits like writing, painting, or music. Others may find fulfillment in service, mentoring, volunteering, or supporting their community. Spiritual growth, meditation, and self-reflection are also powerful avenues. The key is to engage in activities that energize your spirit bring fulfillment, and give a sense of meaning to each day. When we live purposefully, our happiness becomes self sustaining. We are no longer dependent on external validation to feel worthy. This independence is magnetic. People, including our children, are naturally drawn to those who exude joy and contentment. Purposeful living transforms loneliness into opportunity, resentment into gratitude, and emptiness into engagement. A practical approach is to make a joy list, 5 activities you've always wanted to try or rediscover. Dedicate time each day to one or more of these activities. Observe how your energy, peace, and even relationships evolve.